The button you just clicked wasn't entirely your choice. It was a choice designed for you, months ago, in a meeting you weren't invited to, by a designer you will never meet. Have you ever felt trapped by a website? Have you ever tried to do something simple, like unsubscribe from an email list, cancel a free trial, or avoid signing up for a newsletter, only to find yourself lost in a confusing maze of menus and pop-ups? This is not a mistake. It is not bad design. It is actually very good design, executed with a devious goal. It's a strategy built on a deep understanding of human psychology, and it has a name, a dark pattern. The field of user interface and user experience design, or UI/UX, was born from a noble idea: to make technology more human. To make it intuitive, easy to navigate, and even enjoyable to use. Good UX design is invisible. It helps you achieve your goal without you ever thinking about it. But there is a dark side to this craft. A set of design tactics that uses the very same principles of psychology not to help the user, but to actively trick them. These tactics are designed to manipulate you into doing things you never intended to do, like spending more money, accidentally sharing your private data, or staying subscribed to a service you no longer want. These deceptive designs are not rare. They are everywhere, embedded in the websites and apps you use every single day. So how do they work? What are the specific psychological tricks they deploy to quietly hijack our decisions? And how can you learn to spot these invisible traps before you fall into them? That's the question we're answering today. To fight back against dark patterns, you first need to know their names. The term was coined by UX specialist Harry Brignall. Let's break down 3 of the most common and manipulative patterns you will encounter. The name comes from the classic insect trap: they check in, but they don't check out. The tactic: the Roach Motel pattern makes it incredibly easy for you to get into a situation, but impossibly hard to get out of it. Signing up for a free trial takes one click. You enter your credit card details, and you're in. The friction is zero. But when you decide to cancel, you discover the cancel button is nowhere to be found. The process is a deliberately confusing maze. You have to navigate through obscure account settings, answer loaded survey questions, and sometimes, the only way to cancel is to call a customer service number that puts you on hold for 30 minutes. The psychology: this pattern exploits 2 cognitive biases. First, lowering friction for signing up gets you in the door with minimal thought. Second, increasing friction for leaving leverage the sunk cost fallacy. The time and effort it takes to cancel feels like a new cost. You think to yourself, this is too much hassle. I'll just deal with it next month. The company is banking on this exact moment of frustrated surrender. They are profiting from your inertia. The real-world example: 4 years, Amazon's process for canceling a Prime membership was a textbook Roach Motel, involving multiple pages of confusing options and warnings. They only simplified it after facing legal pressure and consumer backlash in Europe. This dark pattern doesn't use confusion. It uses guilt. The tactic: confirmshaming is the act of wording an option in a way that makes the user feel stupid or bad for declining it. The goal is to guilt you into agreeing to something you don't actually want. The psychology: this tactic preys on our fundamental human desire for social validation and our fear of missing out, FOMO. We are wired to avoid making the wrong choice. By framing the no option in a shaming or passive-aggressive way, designers make you pause and second-guess your decision. It reframes a simple no into a character flaw. The real-world example: you've seen this 1,000 times. A pop-up on a retail website offers a 15% discount in exchange for your email address. The yes button is big, bright, and says something like, "Unlock my savings." The link to decline is small, grey text that says, "No thanks, I like paying full price." Another example is a blog asking you to subscribe to their newsletter. The options are, "Sign me up," or "No, I prefer to remain ignorant." It's a subtle, but highly effective, psychological nudge. This pattern is a form of digital pickpocketing. The tactic: there are 2 versions of this. The sneak into basket happens when a website automatically adds an additional item to your shopping cart, often through a pre-checked box you didn't notice. It might be a warranty, a recommended accessory, or a donation to a charity. Hidden costs is its close cousin. This is when a company presents an appealingly low price at the beginning of a transaction, only to reveal a slew of additional fees, like shipping, service fees, taxes, or fuel surcharges, at the very final step of the checkout process. The psychology. This pattern exploits inattentional blindness. When you are focused on a primary task, like buying a specific product, you are less likely to notice other, unexpected things. 4 hidden costs. The pattern again leverages the sunk cost fallacy. By the time you see the real, inflated price, you've already invested time and effort entering your name, address, and payment information. The perceived cost of starting over at another site feels greater than the cost of just accepting the new fees. The real-world example. Budget airlines are the masters of hidden costs. A flight is advertised at a rock-bottom price, but the final cost balloons after you've paid extra for your seat, your carry-on bag, and even the convenience of checking in. Let's connect these patterns. The Roach Motel traps you with friction. Confirmshaming manipulates you with guilt. The sneak into basket tricks you by exploiting your lack of attention. They all work because they are not designed to appeal to the rational, logical part of your brain. They are designed to target its exact opposite. And that is the secret of dark patterns. They exploit the enormous gap between how we think we make decisions and how our brains actually work. We like to believe we are logical beings, carefully weighing the pros and cons of every choice. The reality, as proven by decades of behavioral psychology, is that our brains spend most of the day on autopilot. We rely on mental shortcuts and cognitive biases to make thousands of small decisions quickly. Dark patterns are designed to hijack these shortcuts. They don't try to convince your slow, deliberate brain. They target your fast, lazy, and instinctive brain. They are the weaponization of cognitive science, turned against the very users it was meant to serve. If these insights are opening your eyes to the tricks used online, help us shine a light on them by hitting the like button and subscribing. It helps more people see this content. From a purely short-term business perspective, dark patterns work. They can demonstrably increase sales, boost sign-ups, and make it harder for customers to leave. But it is a dangerous and short-sighted game. Dark patterns are a deliberate choice to burn user trust for a quarterly gain. They trade a long-term customer relationship for a short-term conversion. This strategy inevitably leads to customer resentment, public backlash, and brand damage. Furthermore, regulators are catching on. Laws like the GDPR in Europe and the California Consumer Privacy Act have begun to explicitly outlaw deceptive designs, leading to massive fines for companies that refuse to change their ways. The broader principle here is a masterclass in the immense power of defaults and choice architecture. The way a choice is presented to us has a massive influence on what we decide. Dark patterns work by setting the default option to benefit the company, not the consumer. By understanding how these patterns work, you can take back control. You can learn to recognize when your cognitive shortcuts are being hijacked. You can override the autopilot, slow down, and consciously make the choice that is right for you, not the choice a designer secretly wanted you to make. If you learn something new, hit the like button and subscribe for more strategy breakdowns. And let us know in the comments, what's the worst dark pattern you've ever encountered?